one step back. And that's the way they're going to take it down. And it'll encompass probably about a year and a half and before it hits bottom, whether it's at 40 or 55 on the USDX. And in the meantime, the gold and silver are just going to go bonkers. Gold and silver have already, gold has already broken out, and we're headed probably, the first major stop will be around $1,650 to $1,700, and then it'll go higher after that. And I don't expect any confiscation. Less than 3% of Americans own gold. They wouldn't waste their time. They can go over and take over the GLD, which is the Exchange Traded Fund. They supposedly have 1,058 tons of gold, and there's some other entities that can be grabbed as well, and they can have all the gold that they want doing that.
Yeah, back in 1933, money was gold and silver. The government says, we're going to give you this paper. Give us that. Then they doubled the price of gold a year later once the people didn't have it. Of course, my great-grandpa didn't turn his in. We'll be right back. Bob Chapman's our guest. We've been right about everything on every issue because we know the globalist agenda. It's all written down. We're like reading a TV guide and telling you what's on television tonight, and you're saying, oh, it's a conspiracy theory. We have the government textbooks. We have the government documents. We have their own admissions. Private corporate banks are robbing everyone right now. They're destroying our future. And they're setting up a police state to make sure we can't resist them. It's illegitimate. It's criminal. We've got to come to realization. Stop debating left and right, Republican, Democrat. Stop debating balloon hoaxes and the latest O.J. Simpson and Michael Jackson crap. We've got to stop caring so much about Brett Favre and start caring about the real issues, ladies and gentlemen. I mean, take Jesse Ventura. He likes Brett Favre, too. We talked a little bit about football while I was out there shooting his TV show with him this week on Wednesday. But, you know, he still cares about the other issues of liberty and freedom. I'm not telling people to not spend some of their time in leisure and fun and watching the Yankees or the Dodgers. But you still, I mean, Charlie Sheen, I'm good friends with Charlie Sheen. He still watches football and, baseball, but he also spends some time dealing with issues of liberty and freedom. Ron Paul likes baseball, but he still spends some time fighting tyranny. And we have total criminals taking over. I've made the decision to basically have almost no leisure, unless it's with my children, playing with them. I play football in the backyard with my kids, but that's about it, because they need that. We've got to get our priorities straight. Bob, this is a short segment, but long segment coming up. I want to explain to people this illusion, and I want you to get into it with them, but also what dollar collapse is going to look like, how this is going to affect the average person. And then also the record bonuses for Goldman Sachs, JP Morgan, AIG, and others, the ones that changed the laws with the revolving door of politicians and regulators that are now further raping us with our tax money for bonuses, who are now going to set up the new bank of the world that the criminals, are going to control. But Bob Chapman of the internationalforecaster.com, people that want to check out more, gold isn't going up in price. The dollar is dropping in value, and people know it's going, so they're rushing into the safe haven of something that's a real commodity and has true value. How does that ratio work with the stock market? I know it's not as pure, dollar goes down, gold goes up, as it is with gold with the stock market, but if the New York Stock Exchange and NASDAQ are dollar denominated, is there not a ratio with the economy's plunging, the dollar's plunging, the industries are shutting down, but the stock market goes up? Is there not a ratio there with people also flooding into stocks instead of dollars?
Well, the move that you've seen in the Dow Jones from the low of 6,600 to 10,000 has been propelled by two basic reasons. Short covering in a big way, people who bet the market was going to go down and were wrong. And secondly, the enormous amount of money that was put into the hands of banking and brokerage firms and insurance companies. I mean, we're talking trillions of dollars. What do they do with it? Well, the Fed said, look, get in the market and run the thing up. We have to have some stability in here. We have to convince the public that we're capable of making the market become 10,000 again, and making those pension and profit-sharing plans go from minus 50% back to even again. And so that's what they've done. But the flip side of that is inflation starting to heat up big time. Look at the PPI since May. All you had to do was watch that, and you know
Well, Bob, what's the real number? I mean, unemployment, every other private group says 20% or more. The government says 9.5%. What's the real number there?
Well, the only people I know that figure out what the dollar, the increase in money and credit is John Williams and myself. And he's got 21.4%, and I got 21.3%. So I'll bow to his professional expertise because he's better at it than I am. And so, yes, that's what we've got. So anything that some politician or businessman says that the unemployment's more than 20%, that's true.
So unemployment's more like 20. Inflation's, where's inflation at then?
Real inflation is 6.11% using a formula before Bill Clinton went to office in the 1980s.
All right, stay there.
We're on the march.
I have a family. My parents live here. I have 3 children. I love this country. I had 2 relations on my mother's side of the family that came over on the Mayflower. My family was all over the Revolutionary War in 1776 and in the founding of Texas. I mean, I really bleed red, white, and blue. I know we've been the greatest country in history. I know we're special. Our Bill of Rights and Constitution is wonderful. And I'm so sick of watching offshore banks with slick PR firms who know how to lie to the public, gutting the country, openly announcing at Davos they're setting up a world government. George Soros and all these guys laughing, saying, I'm having a great crisis. We're finally going to bring down the U.S. and set up world government. The Pentagon totally works for them. They're openly setting up a police state to rob all of us. And I've still got to argue with people about whether I'm a conspiracy theorist or not. I mean, Bob Chapman, does it ever make your head spin to have the thousands of government documents, statements, reports that we cover, that we link to? More news today about deaths from the swine flu vaccine, people getting paralyzed, medical doctors say, yes, it's causing neurological problems. They had to stop it in 76. For a year, they denied deaths were happening in 76. And people finally said, hell no, and they admitted it. I mean, how many times do we have to be lied to? How many times do we have to be right? Again, I'm not trying to toot our horn here today, but I want to make a big deal out of this because it is a big deal. We have the track record. We have been right. We do our homework. We bust our ass. I mean, Bob, I remember you, however many years ago it was, you can remind me, and I'm reading your forecast or having you on. I've been interviewing you for like 8 years. I remember you when the stock market hit 14,000 saying, get out now. And you can remind me of the date in a moment. And then when the stock market went way down last year, you said it's going to run back up in the summer and fall. And then I forget when you said it was going to plunge down again. Let's hear your forecast now. And I remember you calling all these things accurately. And you've pointed out, because you're not an egomaniac, and neither are other economists we have on, you've pointed out that Bob Chapman's about 95% accurate, and that the mainstream media is over 80% inaccurate on the financial shows. They're not inaccurate because they're stupid. They're just as smart as Bob Chapman. In fact, in their own personal lives, it's come out that their portfolios are the opposite of what they're saying. In many cases, what they tell their viewers, Kramer and others, that they know what they're doing. They know they're lying. They know they're spinning. They know they're manipulating. So you're just telling the truth because that's what you do. That's your business model. That's your political model. They work for the system, so they lie. I mean, explain to people your predictions, and they're all in the newsletters. Go over all the things you've called, and then where we are right now and where you see us going.